Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it How Love Heals Immediately. Well, very simple. Love is. Love is what you are. It's not something you find. It's not something you seek. It's not something you chase. It's the direct experience of being when the judgment is out of the picture. So the tendency is that when people think in terms of healing, they think in terms of changing something. You see the trap? If the body looks in a particular, feels in a particular way, healing means the body will look or feel different. If there's an issue with a relationship with someone, healing means that will change. If there's a financial condition, if something is healed, the financial condition will change. And I am not saying that changes could happen on the surface, but we're going a little subtler. I don't like to say deeper or anything like that because it's really very obvious. It's right in our face and we cannot see it. The experience of love is what happens immediately in the absence of judgment, in the absence of condemnation, in the absence of fear. In other words, in total acceptance of what is. You see? And that you have access to right this moment, immediately, in spite of what may be taking place in the world of appearances. When we're trying to use the power of love to change something, the attention is outside. See, the attention is dispersed, is overlooking what we are. When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, if you're trying to change something in the dream using, let's say, the power of love, the attention is in the dream and healing cannot occur even when it appears that in the dream something changes. And that doesn't bring you eternal peace. That doesn't bring you permanent happiness. That gives you a temporary relief or a temporary pleasurable experience, but doesn't give you the peace that surpasses all understanding, doesn't give you the real happiness, which is what these videos are pointing to. You see? So, right this moment, in complete acceptance to what is, without wanting to change anything, without trying to fix anything, just being, just pure being, you're resting in the love that you are, and that is how you can experience the power of love, which is what you are anyway, immediately, and in that sense, you experience immediate healing. A healing that never changes. A healing that is always present, ever present. You see? Now, the question that usually arises when this is pointing to or pointed to is that, does that mean that then I have to live a life of passivity where just sit on a couch eating potato chips, watching television, or doing nothing? Again, we're missing the mark here. The healing we're pointing to, or is pointed to in these videos, is the immediate peace, joy, happiness that you are right this moment, always. Now, life unfolds as it will, not as if you wish it will. This is again the challenge when we try to focus on, I'm going to use the power of love to change something, forgetting that life is already experiences or expressed itself as that situation. The judgments of that situation is what creates the suffering, and now we claim that we want to use the power of love to change that, to heal that, but in reality we're parting from a place of non-acceptance because we're trying to change that, and that is suffering. Now, so life is unfolding. When you are open to what is, the suffering immediately ceases and you're experiencing the healing that this is pointing to. In the world of appearances, from a mind that is not identified with fear, actions will take place as well because you're not the one, you're not the doer. You see, you're not the one doing the actions. It's that the attitude or flavor, if you want to use that word, from which these actions are carried out is very differently. In other words, if an action needs to take place, it's going to happen anyway. The only difference is that when the mind is not engaged judging the experience, you see, condemning the experience, this shouldn't be like this or whatever, you simply notice how from that space life just kind of unfolds, and you see what you do if there's something you're supposed to do. If there's something you're not supposed to do, you will not be doing anything. But that doesn't mean that the experience stops, that the life experience all of a sudden just go to a screeching halt or something like that. No. Life will continue as it will, but you're more like the witness, the observer, rather than the one who's judging the whole experience and consequently experiencing fear. You see? Right now, when I'm inviting you not to believe the content of the mind, you have the direct experience of the love that I'm pointing to. Call it the peace that surpasses all understanding. And right now, whatever may be taking place in your life, for this moment, right now, if you don't identify with what the mind is trying to tell you about anything, what remains? What is your experience? Not what is the theory or what these words are saying. No, that's not what we're talking about here. What is your direct experience right now when there's no identification with the content of the mind? You can say that the absence of suffering. In the absence of suffering, in the absence of fear, in the absence of judgment, what remains? Well, that is referred to as the peace that surpasses all understanding, also called as love, also known as healing, a healed mind. Now, since we're so used to identify with the mind, because the mind will throw up all kinds of, throw all sorts of thoughts about the situation, Like I said before, that means that I will not do anything, that means that it's going to be a boring life, that means, no, it doesn't mean anything. It just simply implies that it is what it is. Some may say, well, then this is like resignation or anything like that. Not resignation is a judgment that is being made on the present moment experience because it doesn't go according to how I want, and on top of that I find myself powerless because I'm not able to change it. And then I have to resignate. But that's not the case. Acceptance is not resignation. Acceptance is simply observing. You see, and you notice how life unfolds. Because life is a mystery. And then you can live within the mystery. Curious. I wonder what life is going to do with this character. And that's fine. Because you're resting in that peace that we're pointing to. And in the end, that's all everybody wants. All we want is to be happy. And by the way, happiness and peace are synonymous. It means the same thing. So people are chasing what they already are. You see? People are chasing the love they already are, except that they confuse love with pleasure, with need, with desire, with wants. And then they wonder why they feel like they need healing. Who needs healing? The you, the real you, what you really are, which is what these videos are pointing to, needs no healing. And yet we're using that word to show you that healing, if anything, is just not distracted. That's what healing would be in any sense. When you're distracted, you're sick. When you're not distracted, you're healed, in spite of what may be taking place on the surface. You see? That's why we're not trying to change the surface. We're going deep in what we are, which is not deeper or shallower. It's just, again, limitation of language. But there's no deeper in right now. Is there any deep in this right now? Don't let the mind try to make this into some kind of philosophical, deeper thing. Let's just make it simple right now. Right now, you're being, right? You're resting in what is. That is pure being. That's just being. You see? This is it. Look how simple this is. You are being. Without identification with the content of the mind, you're just being. And let me ask you, is that being deeper? You have to go deeper in beingness? No, it already is. This is it. Beingness, pure beingness, that's all. So you don't have to go deep in anything here. You just want to notice. That's all. We just need to notice. Notice life as it is. And notice how the mind wants to immediately go into judging this, or but how do I change this, or what if I want this, or whatever. All these thoughts are getting in the way of the beingness, or seem to get in the way of the beingness that you are and you always will be. You see? This is the healing this is pointing to. The immediate healing of the power of love. Because again, the power, love, we're not talking about a sensation or a feeling or anything. We're talking about the absence of fear, the total acceptance of what is, the absence of judgment, the absence of condemnation. This shouldn't be like this. No, it should be like that. How do I know it should be like that? Because that is how it's happening. Just as simple as that. When you find yourself saying this should not be like that, you go, wait, no, it should be like that. Why? Because it's happening. You see how simple it is? Life is exactly as it should be because it's happening. But when I suggest that it should not be like that, it's not that things are going to change. It's that I'm going to suffer. That's all. Things will change according to life, not according to a quote-unquote personal will. And that personal will is the obstacle to healing. And by the way, there's no such thing as personal will. See the trap? But the mind makes believe so. Oh yeah, I do have a choice, I can choose. No, you cannot choose. Choose happens through you. And if you have any questions about this, watch the video entitled, Do We Have Free Will? The link is on the description. I have the whole video on that just to make sure that I don't have to get into details on that. That video explains it in detail. Very simply, by the way. So life is unfolding as it will. The idea of healing is simply the idea of a judgment that is being placed on what is. And when the judgment is withdrawn, voila, you're healed. You see? And remember, like I said, it appears as if you're choosing that. No, you don't choose that. In the same way you think you chose to watch this video, and it appears that I'm choosing to make this video. No, this is just what happens. And that's perfectly fine. I don't have any issue with that paradox. Again, watch the video, Do We Have Free Will? Look at the link in the description. And now life unfolds as it will, and you're already healed by the power of love, meaning by the power of non-judgment, by the power of not resistance, by the power of just being. And then, of course, on the surface, whatever may be happening, you see how life, through you, moves the instrument to deal with the situation. If healing needs in a physical way, that the body is dealing with a particular physical condition, and it seems like a healing needs to take place, well, the healing happens when you don't judge the physical condition. That's the healing, because now the power of love rests you back into the place of being, which is love. And then notice how life uses the instrument and moves it in a direction that may help for the, now we're talking the terms of physicality, healing, quote unquote, of the body. You see? So there's not a negation of anything here. Same thing with relationships. On the surface, they may be seems to be conflict, but the conflict is internally. It's not with the other. There's no other. There's only one. However, it appears as there's others. That's fine. You go back again to the remembering that I know nothing. I don't know what is best. Noticing how there's a need or the desire to trying to want things to be differently, the person to change or anything. Because we're judging the experience as if life made a mistake. Because if life would have noticed, if life knew what to do, that person would not be there, or there should be no conflict, or everything would be in a particular way according to my quote-unquote personal idea or will. You see? And yet life presents you that scenario. So how can we heal? How love can heal? Well, that's what I've been saying in the whole video. Simply just being in total acceptance of what is. Then that's the healing. That's when the healing occurs, in spite whether on the surface the person keep arguing or not. The paradox is that if that person or that experience is representing something within me that needs healing, see, when I surrender, or where there is a surrendering to what is, maybe that quote-unquote other may begin to reflect that seeming healing, and consequently the situation may solve itself. Either there is a reconciliation between the two parties, or maybe the two parties are no longer need to be there, because what's the point? There's no reason to be in a conflicting situation. Could happen with a job situation. Sometimes life is very kind to help us when we're afraid, but we don't see it that way. Let's say you have a job and there's something in you that says, I don't want to be here, but I don't know what to do. I'm afraid, and I stay there, but I'm afraid that if I lose the job, I'm not going to be able to have income coming in, and then I have expenses and all that stuff, and then life makes you have you get fired. And then we fight against life again. You see, the power of love cannot heal right now because I'm judging. This shouldn't be like that. But interestingly enough, if I'm open to what is, the power of love just allows for us to see that everything is perfect. I don't have to understand how things will work out. That's not my issue. All I know is that right now there's no job, and the mind goes into the future. How you're going to generate income. Look at the expenses, and there's a part of you that says, you know what? Whatever is supposed to be mine, although nothing here is mine, but just for the sake of this example, I know that it'll be there and life will take care of it. It will inspire me to do something about it, or I don't know, something will take care of it. And if it's not supposed to be mine, then I just let it go. You see, always resting in beingness, the absence of judgment, total acceptance, meaning resting in love, and now you experience the direct healing of love, even when the job's supposed to be gone, even when I don't know what's going to be happening in the next moment. It doesn't matter. You're resting in love, and that's the healing this is always pointing to. So that way, no matter what happens, no matter what situation presents itself, it doesn't matter. You're resting in being, you see, and that is the immediate power of the healing of love. You see, do you see, these videos are not esoteric. They're not esoteric. They're not abstract or something. This is what is right now. Your life is unfolding as it will. It's unfolding perfectly, unless there's a judgment that suggests it shouldn't be like that. So you want to heal right now. You want to experience the healing power of love right this moment, not in the future, not if you do something specific. No. Do you want to experience the healing power of love right now? Okay, it's very simple. Right now, open yourself up to what is. Total acceptance to what is. Right now, right this moment. And now the mind is going to try to, because it's used to, we're so used to identify with the content of the mind and the thoughts. That's fine. Just relax. Right now. This is not covering up or coping or no. This is not about that. Because again, we're missing the mark. Right now. Right this moment. If there's no identification with the content of the mind, whatever is going to happen is going to happen anyway. So again, we're not in charge of any of it. I'm just saying there's no resistance. It's just simply what is. If there's no identification with the content of the mind, what remains? You see, don't answer. If you answer that, you went back to the mind. I don't want you to tell me. I don't want you to say, well, I experience peace. I experience, no, don't go there. We don't have to go there. I'm just pointing to what is. You see? Well, that is love. Why? Because there's no judgment, there's no fear, that's all. Thoughts will be there, let them be there. This is another thing, when I usually point to this, in case this is the first video you're watching, I always say that it is not about the thoughts won't be there and trying to avoid the thoughts or quiet the mind. No, 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 no. They'll be there. That's fine. You see, the sky doesn't care whether there's clouds or not. This is not about controlling thoughts. I always say that. It's not about controlling thoughts. It's not about pushing thoughts away. No, let them be there. They will be there anywhere. If they are there, that's what they're supposed to be. But what happens when you rest right now without just identify with them? Just what remains? Well, you see, again, this is the power of love. It's immediately. You see, did it take any long time for you to realize that this is it? Now, once again, I reiterate, the constant habit of identify with thinking. Well, again, just give yourself a chance to become acquainted with this. Now, this is extremely important, and I've always said this. What do you really want? Because if you're trying to use this as a technique to feel better sporadically, this is not what we're pointing to here. This is not a technique. If you really want peace, inner peace, honestly, then inner peace, or let's not call it inner peace. If you want to experience the peace, which is what surpasses all understanding, if you truly want that more than anything else, then we have to be willing to let go of everything. And that is extremely important. This is not a conditional thing. Okay, I'll give you peace, but you keep your toys. No, 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 no. My life is surrendered to life, meaning that if I'm supposed to be here, I'll be here. If the body's supposed to be here, it'll be here. If my well, I don't have any possessions, but if I did, it appears as I do, but in reality, not even the body's mine. This is what I'm pointing to. When there's a true desire for the love that we are, then I have to be willing to let go of everything else. You see, and that's why sometimes these videos may not be very appealing. People want their goodies, their toys and everything, but they don't understand that what we're pointing to here is that when you know who you are, which is in the end, that's what this is all about, then all the toys and all the stuff that seems to be appearing on the surface, they don't distract you for the fact that you are, which is the love that we're pointing to. And I'll have the toys that I'm supposed to have, and the toys that I'm not supposed to have, they'll be gone away, like have happened in the past, Toys could be anything, any object, relationships, money, jobs or careers or whatever, it doesn't matter. Have you noticed that everything is constantly changing? You never owned anything. See? So now we rest in that, while we have the toys that we're supposed to have until we no longer need to have them. But that's fine, because I am. I rest in the fact that I am. And that's, again, this is what the videos are always pointing to. On the surface, it appears as if though the power of love can heal immediately by resting back in the fact that I am. But in the end, we don't want to remain on the surface. We're going now to what we're really pointing to here. Who are you? Who am I? And if you want to know more about this, if you watch this video, this is your first time watching these videos, go to the first video. The links is in the description. It's the introduction. And watch the videos on the description. I have few of them so you can get a feel of what this is about. Now you're resting in what is. And the word healing is no longer needed. Because it's not that you are healed, it's simply that you are. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.